Barack Obama was home on a mission. South Side. He whooped, proving himself to be an insider in the community where he wants to bring his presidential center. In February, on stage at the same convention center beside the city's gleaming downtown where he had delivered his farewell address last year, the former president was telling stories and cracking jokes. "Doing some math real quick," he said, calculating the years he had spent in Chicago before landing in Washington, D.C. But his tone had changed from a year ago, when, on the brink of handing over power to Donald Trump, he had exuded calm. "It's good to be home," he had said then, speaking glowingly of Chicago as a place of purpose and goodwill. "It was on these streets where I witnessed the power of faith, and the quiet dignity of working people in the face of struggle and loss." On this visit, Obama delivered a sharper message about his adopted hometown, his folksy language sometimes laced with defensiveness. He described the South Side as a place of broken curbs and trash and boarded-up buildings. He bemoaned that the parks up north outshone the ones south of the downtown. To concerns that rents were rising, he offered, "Well, here's the thing, is that if you go into some neighborhoods in Chicago where there are no jobs, no businesses, and nothing's going on, in some cases the rent's pretty cheap. But our kids are also getting shot on that block." His center, he said, could anchor a transformation of the South Side. Envisioned as a laboratory of citizenship, the Barack Obama Presidential Center will transform urban parkland into a campus with a towering museum, a stone-paneled obelisk that will rise 235 feet above a public plaza. The approximately 20-acre complex will also house an auditorium, classrooms, a test kitchen, a basketball court, and a library. It has the potential to revive struggling urban communities. Obama predicted that the center, scheduled to open in 2021, would generate thousands of jobs and $3 billion in economic activity. "This is our gift," he added. "This is us wanting to give back." Many on the South Side embrace the prospect of Obama's contribution. But a growing community movement rejects the conditions on which Obama insists the center be built, without written guarantee that the center will benefit a city whose name has become shorthand for violence. The place that claims the nation's first black president as a native son is the site of a battle over a monument to his time in the White House. As statues to the Confederacy are toppled across the South, and the nation debates the politics of honoring the past, a Chicago neighborhood has become ground zero in an effort to democratize the memorialization of Obama's legacy. Community groups seeking a say in the planning are squaring off against the Obama Foundation, the City of Chicago, and the University of Chicago over what the project, and its namesake, owe to the South Side. Construction is set to begin this year, bringing the stone and glass complex to Jackson Park, which lies in Woodlawn, a gentrifying neighborhood that the sociologist William Julius Wilson described in 1996 as a quintessential, jobless ghetto. The Chicago skirmish belongs to a wider contest over Obama's legacy, unfolding against the backdrop of his successors' efforts to obliterate his influence. It has also opened a local front in a growing national anti-poverty campaign promising the largest wave of non-violent civil disobedience in U.S. history. Meanwhile, the standoff has become a fault line among Democrats running for governor of Illinois, in a race that distills the dilemma facing the party nationwide, choosing between establishment candidates and a self-styled progressive bidding for grassroots support. "One wants to see something constructed that won't just be treated as yesterday's mausoleum," said Neil Harris, a scholar of architecture and cultural history at the University of Chicago. "You want a living monument, and the question is how best to provide it." Jackson Park, the site of the proposed center. In a windowless office on Chicago's South Side, two community leaders gather to explain their grievances with the former president, a tall man with a muscular frame and trimmed gray hair. Charles Perry spent 2 decades in federal prison for conspiring to sell cocaine. He now heads organizing at the West Side Health Authority. Younger and slighter, Juanza Malone is the executive director of the Kenwood Oakland Community Organization. He has worked on 5 continents and aims to live by the Kenyan proverb, "Treat the world well, for it was not given to you by your parents, it was lent to you by your children." They see Obama as a role model, and a relic of a pre-Trump era when political headwinds buffeting their work were not quite so strong. But now they think Obama is failing them, and they fear that the symbolism of his presidency is vulnerable to degradation. "This community doesn't need to be lectured to about the historical significance of this president," Malone said. "What it needs is some level of control over its own future," pointing to a landscape scarred by the failures of urban renewal. Local activists, including Malone and Perry, have formed a coalition demanding a Community Benefits Agreement, or CBA. The agreement would require the foundation to employ community members, protect low-income housing, support black businesses, and replace urban parkland. For advocates of the CBA, the question is not simply who benefits. The foundation's claim is that all will benefit, but who has the power to decide how benefits are assigned? While acknowledging the symbolic importance of the